2018 meeting of the Hendersonville Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Please rise. We're going to start this meeting as we typically do with a prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight, providing our prayer is Alderman Pat Campbell of Life Church. Alderman Campbell. And also, does anybody else, I gave him one prayer concern. If anybody else wants to add one, feel free. Thank you. Alderman Campbell.
Thank you. Yes, let's remember 1-year-old Clayton Clumps Jr. He's in need of a liver transplant here in Hendersonville. And it's thank you. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the many blessings you continue to shower down upon each and every one of us, dear Lord. Thank you for always being there for us. I ask that you would be with us as we go throughout this meeting, and you would help us make the right decisions for our city, dear Lord, and for the citizens here in Hendersonville, and that your perfect peace and love would go throughout this building and go home with each and every one of us, dear Lord. Pray that you'd also be with Miss Skidmore as she is continuing recovery, dear Lord. Virginia Waters as she's recovering, and Steve Brown as he is recovering from his surgery, dear Lord. I ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Alderman Campbell, thank you so much. Yes. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to accept our agenda. We've got a motion and a second. Alderman Skidmore, Alderman Brown? I know we have a couple possibilities of things to add. Alderman Skidmore, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. I have one item, Resolution 2018. It's a resolution for dedication of completed streets within our city. And I would like to add that as, I guess, since it's a resolution at the very end, and I guess that would be item I, I'm sorry. It's gone through committee and the Planning Commission.
2018?
Yes, sir, -28.
-28. And I believe that's been handed out to everybody. Am I correct on that?
No. It should be, sir.
No,
All right.
Okay. I appreciate that. We've got a motion to amend.
And I will pass these out. I'm sorry. I'll pass them out.
I need a second to his motion, please. Thank you, Alderman Waters. All those in favor of adding that amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That is added. Alderman Brown.
If we could, I would like to add resolution 2018-26, resolution to apply for safe grant to FEMA. Has to be in before the end of the month to have it.
2018 what?
2018-26, resolution to apply for safer grants.
Hold on, Kay, is that the right numbering?
probably.
Is it, okay.
It's a dedication, street dedication.
That will be item J under ordinances and resolutions?
Yes, sir.
We got a motion. I need a second for that, please.
Second.
Alderman Cunningham? Yeah, I'm going to have a hard time with microphones right now, so if you could just be patient
Second.
here. Thank you, Alderman Cunningham.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate that. Alderman Waters, do you have anything else? Okay, we've got two amendments to our agenda. First one, adding resolution 2018-28. Second one is resolution 2018-26. All those in favor of accepting the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. I appreciate that. Next, Alderman Designee Frisbee, I think it is. You want to join me right here? And anybody else in your family you'd like to join?
Alderman-elect.
What do you want everybody? Where do they want it? Let's be done this way. Borrow this, John. Four weeks ago, Paul Frisbee was elected by the board to fulfill an unfinished term for Alderman of Ward 3. So now we get to do this. So please repeat after me, Paul. Raise your right hand. I, Paul Frisbee.
I, Paul Frisbee.
Do hereby swear.
Do hereby swear.
That I have all the qualifications.
That I have all the qualifications.
For the office of Alderman.
For the office of Alderman.
Of the ward.
Of ward.
To which I was appointed.
To which I was appointed.
Under the mayor aldermanic government.
Under the mayor and aldermanic government.
For the city of Hendersonville, Tennessee,
for the city of Hendersonville, Tennessee.
and I do solemnly swear
And I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the state of Tennessee,
the state of Tennessee,
the Mayor Aldermanic Charter,
the Mayor Almatic Charter,
and the laws and duly enacted ordinances
and the laws and duly enacted ordinances
of the city of Hendersonville,
of the city of Hendersonville,
and that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
discharge the duties of this office,
discharge the duties of this office,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Make funny face now? Okay. What are my friends from the American Legion? Here we go.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, partner.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is a proclamation from the mayor. Whereas the American Legion has had the proud tradition of supporting our nation's children and youth with an unwavering dedication since its founding in 1919, and whereas the Americanism Missions Children and Youth Committee is the center of the Legion's youth support efforts and strives to enable children to achieve their full potential. Now, therefore, I, Jamie Clary, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, do proclaim April as American Legion Children and Youth Month, and call upon all citizens
Welcome
to
to the
observe
zoo.
this month by demonstrating our gratitude to those who work to support our children, and by taking action in our community to make Hendersonville and Sumner County a healthy place where our youth can grow and thrive. Thank you all so much. Do y'all want to tell a little bit about what's going on?
Absolutely. The American Legion was founded in 1919 by the people coming back from, mostly men, coming back from World War I. We started right away taking care of veterans and children. Those are the two of the pillars that we have. We appreciate this city recognizing Children and Youth Month. It's very important. We have a lot of programs that support the children and youth. So we thank you, Mayor Clary, for recognizing that.
Thanks so much for what y'all do.
I want you in the picture. Can somebody take a picture?
Can you feel humble? Yeah. Okay.
There you go. It's set up. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you so much.
Take your stuff out of here. Give this to Kay.
Next, we have a presentation from our Deer Monitoring and Control Committee. Oliver Berry, I believe, is going to do that. Oliver, do you have anybody else with you that I need to give their names?
Only myself.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sure most of you have seen the survey, aerial survey that was done in January. The guy counted about 83 deer in the city of Hendersonville. Compare that with 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he counted 19.6 deer per square mile in the city of Hendersonville. So there's a big question there. Where did all the deer go? You could explain some of it by the fact that deer are constantly on the move, and they could have just moved out of town during that time of the January survey. And it sounds funny, but it's highly likely that that is what happened. I've been studying all these numbers and thinking about it and wondering, do we have a problem with only 83 deer? If that's the total number, do we really have a problem? And the answer is, do we still get, and I'm answering with a question, do we still get calls at City Hall about deer? Do aldermen still get calls about deer? And I know several of you have gotten calls because you have called me to say, go out there and talk to that lady about the deer. Or get them to your deer committee meeting and explain to them what's going on with the deer. I talked to the guy who did the survey, the aerial survey. He flew the helicopter himself, and he confirmed to me that there are deer in every ward in the city. Every single ward he saw deer. So every ward has a responsibility to deal with the problem. And again, is there a problem? Let me read deer automobile collisions from 2010 through last year. This is from Commander Harbsmeyer with the Hendersonville Police Department. 2010, 34. Some with injuries. 2011, 37. You see the numbers here. 2012, 41. 13, 48. 2014, 39. 2015, 56. 2016, 59. And 2017, 79 deer collisions. 79. Do we still have a problem? Yeah, we still have a problem. Has the deer feeding ordinance been of any value? I explained at first I was begging the guy, straighten me out on how you came up with the survey, the aerial survey, USDA employee. How did the numbers get so skewed from one survey to the next? He said, well, do you have a deer feeding ordinance? Yes, we do. He said, that's an answer for some of it. Now, it's not for all of it, and don't laugh. We can't get rid of that many deer by having a no-feeding ordinance. But the ordinance did work. I also talked with Commander Harbsmeyer with the police department. Guess how many citations were written? Not one. 0 citations. How many calls were made? He said several calls were made. And we can all rest at ease. The police went out and they talked with the homeowners, the families who had problems with deer in their yards, and they discussed it, and they were told stop feeding the deer, and they did. No money, no tax enhancement, so everything was safe, and we could still do that. We could still have that deer feeding ordinance, and law-abiding citizens would still obey that ordinance. And you can say, well, nothing worked with the ducks. Yes, it does. Yes, it does work with the ducks. Go down to the park down there. You'll see people throwing bread, but you'll also see people going to those machines and buying the duck feed. When you put the signs up and you educate people about what feeding wild animals does to them, then they realize that it's the wrong thing to do. So, what do we need to do about the deer problem? That we obviously still have a deer problem. So what do we need to do? We need to reinstate that deer feeding ordinance and put more teeth into it. Make it a $100 fine instead of a $50 fine. And enforce that strongly so that people will know that it's wrong to feed the deer. And the deer feeding committee, the deer control committee has talked about doing pamphlets and community education. I read an article in the paper that nothing has ever been done about that. Sorry, but yes, it has. I have written an article and sent it to the local newspapers every year about fall season of the year, talking about it's the time for the deer rut. Deer are going to be running across the roads late in the afternoon or early in the morning, and that's the time to really watch out for them in the fall and early winter months because that's when they're most active. And we've also got information on the city web page a little bit. We need a little help from the IT department if we are going to do any more community education because there's been maybe a lack of communication there. So we need to get a little help, a little assistance from that department so that we can post pamphlets that we come up with. So that's where we are. My recommendation and the deer committee's recommendation is that we reinstate that ordinance, that deer feeding ordinance, put teeth in it, and continue to educate the public in Hendersonville about the deer problem. Also, there have been several depredation permits issued over the past 3 years, quite a few, and there have been probably around 100 deer taken in the Hendersonville neighborhoods.
Do you want to explain what that is, Oliver?
Depredation permit, you go to TWRA, Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, and you say, I have a problem with deer, they're eating my vegetation, or they're butting my barn, or they're destroying my property in some way, and the TWRA agent will come out and look at your damage, and they will issue you a depredation permit that helps you to harvest deer to keep them from damaging your property. So you have to prove damage to your property for that to be issued, and that's not difficult to do. I have had, in recent months, lots of people coming to our meetings and from several different wards complaining about the deer, and we tell them everything that we've been doing over the few years, and we tell them here's what you do about feeding them, here's what you do about complaining to aldermen, here's how we handle the deer problem, and that seems to settle people down. And I've also talked to a couple of HOA managers, and one question was, the first question one of them asked me was, what do we feed the deer to get them to stop eating our plants? So, do we need education for the public? You don't feed them anything. You stop feeding them, and they will go away. And we have had examples of sweet little ladies coming out with a wheelbarrow full of food every day to feed the deer. And when they learned that it was against the law to do that, they stopped doing it. Now, when you cut off a wheelbarrow full, and I'm not kidding, heaping wheelbarrow full of food every day from the deer, what do you think they do? They've got to go somewhere else to get that same amount of calories. So, a deer feeding ordinance will work and has worked, and continuing to educate the public. That's my recommendations and our committee's recommendations. Any questions?
Oliver, thank you. Any questions?
Oh, and thanks for buying the Beatty property. That's keeping the deer out there on their property.
People will do anything for applause.
True. Go ahead. Alderman Sprouse.
Thank you. Thank you, Oliver, for your work. Just one thing to point out, I think that there's some state constitution restricts us from having a fine above $50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was making recommendation, and y'all can
Cool.
do
Thank you.
the nuts and bolts work.
Alderman Woodcock.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a Ward 5 opening on the Deer Committee. I want to make sure that that's going to continue to be an active committee.
That's up to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
And that's why I'm asking at this
Yeah.
time.
It's
I
a
don't want
permanent committee.
I understand that, but with the recent findings in the article and the survey and the recommendation to reinstate the ordinance, are we going to pursue other actions as a committee? Do I need to get someone lined up for that position for it only to be dismissed in 3 months?
I don't think so. And I guess it'd be up to the board, but I think if there's a vacancy, let's
All right.
get it.
That's all I need to hear. Thank
Let's
you.
get a nomination. So, okay. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. How much did we pay for that survey? It sounds very flawed to me.
No, I think it was $3,000. I
Will
called
they
the guy.
will they consider redoing that? Because it just doesn't sound.
Yeah, I called the guy and asked what happened. He said, I can't manufacture numbers. All I can tell you is what I saw.
Was it the same company? Was it the same
Yeah,
organization that did
USDA.
it previously?
Yeah, USDA did it, and they're experts in the field of deer management.
We need a huge discount.
Alderman Sprouse.
Thank you.
To help with Alderman Woodcock's concern, I'll be happy to sponsor something to reestablish the committee, and we can bring it to general committee next month. Thanks.
Okay. Appreciate that. Any other questions?
I would recommend keeping the committee because we can, what's the word, fend off, not fend off, but take complaints and help people to solve those complaints, because we have a lot of knowledge after all these many years on how to deal with deer. And we're still going to have deer issues. We're still going to have deer eating our plants, and we've got roses, and we've got people who grow roses, and we got people who grow daylilies. They're still around, and they're still fighting with the deer. So,
Oliver, thank you. Thank you for what y'all have been doing.
okay.
Appreciate it. We have no public hearings. Minutes. Entertain a motion to approve our minutes from March 13, 2018. Got a motion? Got, well, first we need a second. We got a motion, a second. Alderman Frost.
Thank you, Mayor. I noticed that my comments at the high school on the Lowson Associates contract on the sports counts or the sports thing, whatever you call it, feasibility study were not in these minutes. So I would like to have that put in appropriately.
Do you want to defer it to our next meeting?
And if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to defer these minutes until that correction is made, and hopefully the next meeting we can take care of that.
Okay, we have a motion to defer. And a second from Alderman Waters. All in favor of deferring approval for March 13 minutes until our next meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passed unanimously. Next, we have citizens' comments. Robert Little, 314 Raindrop Drive.
Don't need all. First off, I'd like to thank everyone who voted against Vaseline Development Area at Target. It seems like Vaseline is trying again to build in that development. But I hope everyone remembers the same problems as last time. We had traffic problem, we still have flooding, Hunts Lane is still a problem, and we still have empty businesses in Glenbrook. At the traffic problem, we have New Shackle will not go away. Has anyone ever asked the fire department at the hospital of all the traffic problems they have trying to get the New Shackle to stop 30? I don't think so. Also, the lights at New Shackle and Glenbrook Way are not working correctly again, and they need to be corrected. Flooding. I received an email from Mr. Perry from the hockey club that uses the Veterans Park field there. He keeps saying there keeps getting flooded. City is not doing anything about it. All they're doing is repairing the hockey field, and each year taxpayers are trying to pay to redo that each year. The Hendersonville Standard newspaper article, July 28, 2016, talks about all the flooding and how people are getting tired of getting put off. The article also states several people are losing faith in the city. And here's the articles about in the paper. Also, the Hendersonville paper, July 10, 2010, quote from Mr. Holt, the county executive stated flooding problem needs to be addressed sooner than later. Mr. Holt, it is now later and nothing's been done. It keeps going away, but everyone wants to vote for him again, and that's just a problem we can't live with. The city just spent another $3 million that we don't have on the new park, which everyone's happy to get, I guess. But the problem is not going lower. Excuse me. But the problem with it is the north part of the city, north of Main Street, still gets flooded, but no one seems to be solving that problem. Hunts Lane, talked to Judy Harden, the county road supervisor, said there's no money to buy land to widen that road. Therefore, that road is only 21 feet wide, which is at the very minimum of a county road. I don't know what everyone's thinking about. I also wonder why the city will not annex that area. I guess they figured out that too many problems trying to annex that area and all the problems of Hunts Lane. They just want to leave it as a rural road. Empty business. Alderman Jim Walters stated several businesses empty at Glenbrook, plus all the empty buildings at Indian Lake Road. Has anyone counted all the empty stores at the mini mall there? I don't know why we need Vaseline to add more retail. We're doing too many with empty stores as it is. Has anyone looked at all the permits that don't need the board to approve? They're going out crazy, but that's what it's made for, the area that's already zoned for the building. Ward Alderman Matt Stabler voted for the Vaseline development area the first time, but I asked him an email, and now he's going to vote against it.
Alderman Little, excuse me, Mr. Little, address me, please, not individuals up here. Thank you. Since he's my alderman, we asked him before
about voting against Vaseline. He said he only received a couple of emails saying he was against it. But as the letter says, now he's found out that he was in error and he should have voted against it the first time. Now he will have voted against it. Mr. Gilly, Mrs. Sprouse, last time only had a neutral.
We're okay. It's not a personal attack. We're okay so far. I'm keeping an eye on it.
I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just.
You're getting close. You're getting close. Yep. Yeah.
It's all in the paper.
We're good. We're good. We're good. Go ahead.
It's all in, Hendersonville Standard. Read the paper. It's all in there.
Mr. Little, go ahead.
Mr. Gilly, Mrs. Sprouse also had a neutral recommendation according to the paper. I don't know why they were neutral and now they voted for it. Doesn't make sense to me. Also, looks like we're going to spend another $80,000 for street lights.
You got 30 seconds.
Okay. Hendersonville is growing, but the intersport is still not being taken care of. I don't know why. We're just building a whole city on sand instead of on a rock. Also, a final note is I don't know where I can find out where lunches, dinners, and other items have taken place. I don't know how to find these donations. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Little, thank you. Brenda Payne, 1595 Hunt Club Boulevard.
I'll take the point of personal privilege about the previous speaker.
Let's finish this first, and then we'll come back. Is that okay?
No.
Alderman Stamper. I mean, it's up to you. We can finish citizens' comments and come back.
I've given no one my position on my intended vote or not vote. I've not made a decision, and it was stated that I am going to vote a certain way when the vote hasn't even come before us.
Alderman Stamper, thank you. Oh, Mr. Little, we're finished. We're finished. You had your chance. You had your 5 minutes. You had your 5 minutes. Mr. Little, you had your 5 minutes.
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
I'll most likely.
Brenda Payne from 1595 Hunt Club Boulevard.
That says most likely.
Thank you, Mayor Clary, and the Honorable Board of Mayor and Aldermen. It's my happy duty tonight to do something that I don't get much opportunity to. And
Excuse me, Brenda. I'm sorry. We're going to start your time over. Thank you. There we go.
Ready?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
good deal.
Thank you.
So I kind of feel like I can call a Rotary Club meeting here tonight a makeup because there are a few Rotarians in the room. But I'm here to announce to this body and to the city as a whole a second annual Hometown Heroes Festival that is happening as a result of the hard work of the Rotary Club of Hendersonville. It's going to happen on April 21st at Rock Castle. I hope all of you will attend. The tickets are $20 if you buy them from a Rotarian. They're a little more than that if you buy them online. We are this year going to be honoring our first responders here in the city. So our fire and police and our EMS folks, we're going to feed all of them for free, take food along to the firehouses and make sure that they get to participate. Holly Thompson is our MC that night. We have 3 bands that are going to be playing. We're going to be recognizing the first responders from the stage. We've got a big kids zone that's going to be happening there that night. I have a couple of brochures here, posters that I'm going to leave with you all. The Hendersonville Fire Department is going to bring their truck and a boat, I believe, and the police department is bringing their command center and a police boat as well. And I understand today that we might even have had an evacuation helicopter to be able to land on the grounds, so as a kind of a practice run today so that they can come and be there. So there's going to be a lot of fun for the kids. The gates open at 5 o'clock on that Saturday afternoon, the 21st of April, and they will close around 9 o'clock. I don't know of any place that you can go and get a full barbecue dinner and entertainment like that for $20. So we hope that all of you will come, and I hope that all of the citizens who are listening to this tonight will consider coming. This is an open event. This is not just for Rotarians. This is for the city of Hendersonville. And the thing that I really want to express is this. We do this out of a real heart for this community. Our goal is not to raise the most money that we possibly can. our goal is to give away as much money as we possibly can. And we've raised $90,000 this year with this event. All of it will be going to scholarships, will be going to community service organizations in this area so that we can have a better quality of life. And so I am so excited about the event. I hope you can come. I hope those of you out there in TV land can come as well. And if it's all right, I'm going to pass these posters around so that you can have that opportunity to see a little bit more. HometownHeroesFestival.org. You can go online and get those tickets. Thank you so very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Brenda, thank you. Next we have Finance Committee. Chairman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. We had our special call finance meeting on April the 3rd, just to discuss the bond for the purchase of the Beatty Farm that we had voted to move forward with, and this was to finance that purchase. And we have voted. There were 2 members there. 1 member was not there because she was no longer with this board. And we voted unanimously to recommend for us to do that. And that's the end of my report.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. General Committee, Chairman Sprouse.
Thank you, Mayor. The General Committee's had 2 meetings. We met last night in a workshop here at City Hall. Had an opportunity to have a conversation with the Executive Director of the National Sports Council. He helped us a little bit with vocabulary. Know the difference between a sports council, a sports authority, its duties, their obligations and powers. A little bit of the history of what's happened in Nashville. Gave us a little insight in Williamson County, but we're going to be looking towards the folks in Williamson County to tell their story a little more. But it was a very positive meeting. I appreciate the committee and the members of the community for attending. We met tonight for one of our regular business meetings. The legislation you'll see coming before this board, Resolution 2018-24, resolution to approve final development plan for Glenbrook North, was given unanimous positive recommendation by the committee, as was Resolution 2018-25 to apply for community development block grant and the action plan for this year. We also are going to recommend to the board, we had a resolution, I don't know if there's going to be action coming before the board, how it's going to be worded, but the committee reviewed strategies and goals as part of the Hendersonville Horizons report, the portions that were corresponding to the General Committee, and we passed a motion expressing our appreciation for the committee, their work, the citizens who provided input, and asked this board to accept that document as an advisory document that we can use down the road. Furthermore, we had some discussion about the Hendersonville Arts Council, how they're structured, and there's going to have to be some more discussion about that down the road. Thank you.
Chairman Sprouse, thank you.
And go Preds.
Chairman Brown, Public Safety.
Thank you, Mayor. We had quite a lengthy agenda tonight, a lot of discussion on several issues, but a very good meeting. We addressed Resolution 2018-26, a resolution to apply for safer grants through FEMA. I've added that to the agenda a while ago. We'll be discussing that in a while. We also discussed Resolution 2018-27 as a resolution to declare equipment owned by the city to be surplus property. We have an old fire engine pumper that will still pump water but does not meet our codes and our safety that we have to have in the city of Hendersonville. It's basically not doing anything for us, and it's not worth a whole lot of money, but it could do the Highland Volunteer Fire Department quite a bit of good. Right now they do not have any way to pump water. So we have, that's going to be coming before us in a couple weeks to donate that to them so they can go about business of protecting folks. So we talked about license plate cameras, and we're going to be talking about those again here shortly. We had a couple other discussions. We did have a report from Hendersonville Horizons on what they would like to see our safety committees doing, which was quite frankly a very good report, short report. As you know, our ISO rating just went down, and our guys in blue are fighting crime every day, so we appreciate what they're doing. We did have a discussion about accepting some land that was donated to us by Durham Farms for Fire Station 7. which some of these things in a safer grant that we'll be talking about, be gentlemen that will fill those fire stations and or possibly ladies to protect our citizens even further. So talked about some safety concerns on Rockland Road and some safety concerns around Centerpoint Road and Tractor Supply. We also schedule a groundbreaking for our horse barn where our police officers on 4 legs will be taken care of for Friday, April the 20th at 2 p.m. if you would like to attend that. Thank you. Bell.
Thank you, Chairman Brown. Chairman Skidmore, Public Works.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Just a real brief comment. One of our constituents up here just spoke. Mr. Little said something about the lights not working properly at Glenbrook. I apologize. Can't say that 3 times tonight. But we'll in Public Works, we'll take a look at that and make sure that it's operating, because we certainly don't. We have enough traffic congestion for traffic signals in the city of Hendersonville anyway, so we'll take a look at that. And then we, at our last meeting in Public Works, we were going over our budget for this coming budget session. I won't bore you with all that because I know that we're going to be going over that in the months to come. We're in the process of looking at Public Works Department. Our next meeting is scheduled to be April 24th at 5:30, and we'll be going over, our normal Public Works schedule, but we'll probably be going through budget too. So it's going to be more than likely, as our committee members know, it'll be a lengthy meeting as they normally are. And then also on your agenda tonight, just one final thing. Tonight on item I, 2000-1828, that was passed, that resolution was passed in our committee unanimously and then went to the Planning Commission, which was passed there accordingly. So, and we would ask for the consent of that being passed this evening. Other than that, that's it. Thank you, Mayor. If anybody has any questions or comments for Public Works. Okay, thank you very much, Mayor.
Chairman Skidmore, thank you. Capital Projects, Chairman Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we reconvened our meeting on April the 3rd, and we had quite a few items to discuss. The Hawkins property, we picked that one back up and discussed the appraisal on that. We're still waiting for the appraisal to be approved. We've approved it as a board. We'd like to have that move forward, so we'd like to get the ask the mayor to sign that tonight, if you don't mind, Mayor. It's $4,500. We need to get that moving so we can get that.
I don't have it.
You don't have it? It's not on your desk?
It's not on my desk.
I don't know. Well, we will get that to you ASAP then, because I thought it was on your desk. The next issue would be the Saundersville Road, the Manish study. That's another project that some people confuse it with the local interchange connector. It's not. They're 2 separate issues. One is the off-ramp there and the underpass, the tunnel that everyone's talked about for about 8 years now. And then Saundersville Road from 386 all the way out to the county line, about that being rebuilt. Well, we've approved the funding for that in this year's budget for $283,000. We'd like to go ahead and move forward with the engineering. I understand that's on your desk, Mayor, and we need to get that signed so we can get that moving forward, because every month we wait, we're just putting off another year probably in the construction of working on that road. So I was wondering if we could get that signed tonight, Mayor. I'm just asking a question, Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
Since you're asking, do you have intentions of signing that, sir?
It's just report. I don't have a report tonight, and I really can't answer the question. I don't even know if I have it on my desk. I don't want to answer questions that I might mistake.
Well, we'd like to take a 5-minute recess to go look and see. We can do whatever, because, we need to, I know I've had a previous Capital Projects Committee chairman down there that's really pushed hard for this project to get going. He spent a lot of his time and effort on this issue, and it's now my turn to pick up that ball for him, and I'm trying to move it forward for him. And
I just don't have an answer for you right now.
I'll second that motion for a 5-minute break. If it's on your desk, you can go get it and sign it.
That's what I'm asking. I'm just trying to get this project moving, because a lot of people out there have been asking about it, and it's just stalled, waiting to be signed, from what I understand. So,
motion?
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion. To sign
okay.
that take a 5-minute break to sign this find this document and sign it tonight if we can.
We have a motion.
I second it.
In a second. What's the motion?
To get the Manish study, sign it, so we can move forward with the engineering of the Saundersville Road.
Okay.
We have the contract, I believe. May I ask Chip Moore, our Public Works Director, have we generated that contract, sir?
We have a motion and a second.
I'm just asking you to verify that we have a contract on a desk.
Well, I understand that the city attorney has reviewed it and has signed off on it for the scope and the limits of liability, and it's been approved through Public Works, so it's just waiting a signature.
That's what I understand too. That's why I was asking Mayor, could we move that forward tonight if at all possible? Because other aldermen at the end of the table, the previous chairman, I know he'd like to see this move along, and I know that several people in the Ward 5 would love to see that moving along.
So you got a motion and a second?
Yes, sir.
And tell me again what the motion was.
To go get the contract and sign it tonight to move along with the engineering. So we can proceed with the engineering of the Saundersville Road, the Manish study, engineering study.
Okay. And if I can't get the contract, who's going to get
Do
it?
it tomorrow, be fine.
Okay, so are we taking a break, or what are we doing?
5 minutes.
We'll give you 5 minutes to go look for it, yes, sir.
If I don't,
Also, Mayor, you might want to look for that $4,500 contract or whatever while you're in there looking, see if we can't get that Ogden's property moving too.
Yes, sir.
We need to get that moving. So you want to look at that.
And while we're at it, if we could go ahead and talk about the Cassidy architecture for the fire hall number 2, since that's professional services, does not have to be bid out since it is professional services, and have our city attorney approve that one in form and legality, so we can move the fire hall number 2 issue along as well. Because fire hall number 2 is waited long enough too.
Let's just take it one at a time.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to just move forward with the Saundersville Road Manish study for engineering at this time.
We've got a motion and
a second for the...
to take a motion to take a 5-minute break.
Yes, sir. Whatever it takes to go find the
Motion and second, take a
contract.
5-minute break. Alderman Stamper?
I'm just a fan of order, and I'm not. I mean, this is not something that was on the agenda. I mean, it's.
Well,
I'm just confused about the process. I think these types of things don't need to happen during a board meeting. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I'm concerned about the flow of things too, sir. When it comes to the Capital Projects Committee, we vote to do things, and they're just sitting on a desk waiting.
Okay.
They've been approved legally.
Any other comments about the motion to take a 5-minute recess? Alderman Sprouse?
It's extraordinary type of action, but I think in this case perhaps it's appropriate. That's why I seconded the motion. It was reported last week in Capital Projects this contract, after quite some time, was still on the mayor's desk, and the mayor didn't question it at that time. We had a vote 12-1 for this appropriation. Every alderman voted for this, and we're having weeks. It's been approved by committee. It's been reviewed by staff. If it can be resolved in 5 minutes, let's resolve it in 5 minutes. And I think that that's very appropriate. That it's extraordinary, but these are extraordinary circumstances. And I hate to do this, but I'll make the second, and I encourage you to do this. If we can resolve it in 5 minutes instead of waiting another 3-4 weeks, then I'm glad.
Let me give you a little comment. I've seen this contract, and I passed it back to Chip. I'm pretty sure it's not on my desk. I passed it back to him and explained why I wasn't going to sign it this time. Can the board force me to sign something I haven't read and haven't considered?
I can certainly ask you to, and they have appropriated the money.
I got a hard time signing something that in a couple weeks I'm going to ask you, I'm going to bring to y'all to make a decision not to spend that money. That's just troubling.
Why do we not want to spend the money?
Hold on. And the reason is because we've got another project that has come forward that I would like to see us consider funding instead, because this project is a study. The other project is funding some construction for a traffic signal at a place where we've got a safety situation. The study isn't going to make anything safer right now. What it's going to do, it's going to get us down the road to funding something that's going to cost a couple $1 million.
Sure.
This money will provide us a traffic signal at Stop 30, at Gallatin Road, at Bluegrass Commons. By using that money instead for the traffic signal, it's going to help First Baptist Church, folks at the YMCA, the office buildings there, St. Timothy Lutheran Church, and the two subdivisions down there. It just made sense to me not to sign this yet, but to bring it back to the board and see if this is something that we would prefer to do. And I handed it back to Chip and said, I'm not going to sign it yet. I'm going to bring it back to the board before I do that. And that's where we are right now. It is not on my desk. I don't know who told you it's on my desk. I handed it back and explained the situation, why I wasn't going to sign that. In fact, I think I sent a lot of y'all an email about why that was. It is not on my desk. It is not on my folder to be signed. And this is something that, simply could have been a question, not something here. If you would have asked me then, and
I have
I could
several
explained-
issues that
Hold
are
on, Pat. I
seem to
still
be
got
hung
the floor
up,
here, and a
so-
couple other people are before you.
I'm the chairman, that's why I was giving my reports.
And it's troubling to hear this now and we've sat in a couple meetings since then, and just because the capital projects or the public works or any committee tells me to do something, that's not the way it works.
Understand.
That's not the way it works. So let's go to.
That's why I'm asking for this board to vote on it,
Let's go
sir, if we
to
need to.
Alderman Frost.
Moan,
Yes.
the Saundersville Road project is probably one of the most dire projects we need to take care of. And in my opinion, I'm speaking of my opinion, okay? Mr. Woodcock and I represent Ward 5. And the light that we've been fighting for the past 5 years has a great opportunity to come to fruition. I think, and Mr. Woodcock and I had a meeting with Scott Perry and Drew Maddox Thursday week ago, and some other folks. And there was also an email sent out from the pastor of First Baptist. And I think Mr. Woodcock would be in agreement with what I'm about to say. I don't want to sacrifice Saundersville Road, but neither will I sacrifice the light.
Sure.
Mr. Maddox's daughter was one of the 2 girls that was killed at Country Hills 10 years ago. Mayor, I know of the money in that situation. Mr. Woodcock and I both are willing to fund this light through the normal process in the 18-19 budget that's up and coming to 275, 250, in that ballpark range. Without breaking any laws, I would hope that the board would look favorably upon that. That's just me representing a project. And I think that would open up the avenue to proceed. We can have a win-win, Saundersville Road and the light. So I know the money that you're talking about going towards the light. I think if we can fix the light situation through our normal budget process, we can also move forward with the study on Saundersville Road. In this instance, we can have our cake and eat it too. I just pray that when budget comes, remember the folks that want that light.
I'll support your lights.
No, you can't say that.
Well,
But I just want to put that out there as Mr. Woodcock and I, and Mr. Woodcock.
It's a public meeting.
Alderman Woodcock.
Thank you. I'll be quick. I agree with everything Ham just said. And I also want to thank Chairman Campbell for saying this and bringing it up tonight. It means a lot to me as former chairman of Capital Projects, so thank you. Long story short, I don't want to sacrifice a multi-million-dollar long-term project for a $300,000 traffic light. Just like Ham said, let's fund the long-term project as we did last year. Let's keep it moving so we don't stall it, and then let's fund the traffic light in our normal budget in 8 weeks. Thank you.
Alderman Woodcock, thank you. Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say one thing, and I appreciate, obviously, all of you. I served with you, and I've served with most of you for a long time. But I just want to say this to you, and I'm not going to be smart aleck about it or anything like that, but I cannot sit by and have you say that the Public Works have ordered you, or Public Works Committee has ordered you to ever sign anything. We've never done that, and I challenge you to go and research your material. I challenge anybody on this board to research their material and have to see whether the Public Works Committee has ever done that. We don't do things like that because, number one, it's not right, and number two, it would be ridiculous of a committee of 3 telling the mayor of Hendersonville to do something. What we can do and what we have done and what every committee on this board has done is we recommend to this board to do certain things. And this board has the power to order you or to suggest to you nicely or however we want to put it to do something. Now, if there has been Public Works issues that have come before this board or capital projects committees before this board and the board has told you by a board or a vote of 7+ to do something, then you should do it. But don't try to throw the committee under the bus by saying we've told you to do something, because Jamie, you know that's just not right, and you know that.
Well, let me clarify a little bit there.
Okay, because that's the way it came out. I mean, I'm not.
I got you.
Okay.
The board has never ordered me, and the budget didn't say we had to spend $286,000 on a study for Saundersville Road. This was part of the special projects, I think it was, of the capital projects committee. There is nothing in there that the board voted on $286,000 for this study. That was never there. So when I saw that come across my desk, I knew as part of professional services. And
Yes,
I thought, let's go back to the board and see if we can use that money somewhere else.
Okay.
Because it's still, this is still something that, it's professional services. And unless y'all pass it in the budget that it's professional service for this item, if it was professional service for that specific item, oh yeah, absolutely,
Right.
absolutely, totally get that. So yeah.
No, my response to that is,
Go ahead.
I appreciate, in my response to you is I understand that.
Yeah.
But what you said was completely the opposite just a few minutes ago of what you're saying now, and it would be a disservice upon me as chairman of Public Works to allow those comments go unheeded, and I'm just telling you now that we've never done anything like that. We never would. We would always take everything back to this board because that's the law.
I apologize if it came across that way.
Okay, well, thank you, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Alderman Strauss.
Thank you. Last week, Capital Projects, the mayor sitting in the meeting, heard that the next step in this project was the contract to be signed, and the contract was on the mayor's desk. And we moved on. We didn't hear that there was any issue with the contract. We didn't hear that there was another use potentially for the money. We heard that it was on the mayor's desk to be signed, and the question was, has it been signed yet? And it hasn't. We've heard just tonight that, well, there were problems with the contract, or I had questions with it. I don't know if it's on my desk or if I passed it over, and now we find out that there's really, I guess, the reason why it's being held off on isn't because it's an issue of the contract, but it's an issue of following the will of the board or not, in saying, well, if we hold off on this long enough, we can use the money for other things. And I will say, full disclosure, as other members of this board, I'm an active, long-time member of First Baptist Church, and I know the need for a light there. That's why, quite some time ago, earlier this year, I asked the Public Works Director if he would consider putting that in his budget for this next year. And he said that he would. He had seen some recent traffic counts. Regularly, we do traffic counts there to see if we would warrant that. And he felt like that would be appropriate at this time, that the traffic had grown to the point that he could do that. I appreciate him doing that. I say that only because I'm afraid now what I'm going to say next could end up with there being some email coming out later in a newsletter saying I'm against a traffic light in front of First Baptist Church. What I'm in favor of is order and process and accountability. Later, we're going to be voting on something to amend the municipal code. When we vote on that, the board's not going to have to come back later and ask the city recorder if she changed the documentation in the municipal code. This was a line item that was clearly demonstrated in the budget that we approved. It was a 12-to-1 vote with all aldermen voting in favor of it. If there is a concern legally with the contract, let's address it with the city attorney. If there is a concern from an engineering standpoint, let's discuss it with the Public Works Director. If there's a concern that we need to make some changes, let's discuss it with the Capital Projects Committee. But let's not subvert the will of this board and the process by refusing to sign a document for an expenditure that has been appropriately approved by this board reviewed by staff, signed off by the city attorney. This is an opinion I would have if this was an 11-2 vote, and all aldermen but me voted for this. I would still expect that whoever is sitting in the mayor's office, once everything is resolved, it's going to be signed. And if there's something to be resolved, it's going to be addressed pretty quickly. If we need to have the 5-minute break to sign this, let's do this. If we need to have a 10-minute break to do this, let's do this. If we can have a commitment from the mayor that this will be signed by noon tomorrow, I'll be happy to withdraw my second. But I think we have a process that's broken right now, and we need to focus more on the mechanics of what's taking place in City Hall and doing the job that we're all expected to do. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Chairman Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Chip, the mayor made a comment earlier that he had passed the contract back to you. Do you have that contract by chance on your desk? No, sir, for the Manish study. For the
Manish?
No, sir. No, sir, the Manish engineering for the Saundersville Road.
I'm unaware of having that. I can go look.
Well, if you'd like to, he said he passed it back to you for, after he made review, he made some adjustments to it, sent it back for you for your comments, so I was just curious. I mean, I think that'd be something that'd be, say, here you go.
I can go look, but I haven't seen it if he's made adjustments.
I haven't made any adjustments. I didn't say that.
Well, he said he passed it back to you, but I mean, if he didn't sign it, there's no sense to sign it back, to send it back to you unless it's signed.
No, I haven't seen the signed contract, but I can go look.
I mean, so, okay. So, Mayor, you have not signed that contract?
I'm pretty sure I have not signed that contract.
Okay,
I mean, last
that's
week
what I'm
I
trying to get down to, just trying to get down to where we're at here, because we have a lot of citizens that are wanting to have Saundersville Road worked on. And folks, the reason why I'm making this a big deal is we talk about putting things on the MPO. If you get an engineering study done where you find out how much right-of-way you've got to purchase, the utilities, and how much, gives you a good estimate on how much it's going to cost to build that road, then you can apply for the municipal planning organization's funding to help assist in that project. You're probably looking at $8 million easy on that project. So it'd be an 80-20 split with the state of Tennessee. Therefore, it's imperative we find out what we're looking at in funding. If we wait until next year's budget again to do this, you've just put that off another year. And the people out there are screaming, help us. We're trying to help them. Picking up the ball from my former Capital Projects Committee chairman, and just trying to help move this project along, because I see that, hear the people, I understand. They're tired of us acting like we're not getting things done. And this is money that has been approved, appropriated, it's ready to go. Let's get this process of this project done so we can move to the next phase. That's why I'm so adamant about this tonight. So, and also, while we're at it, if we want to talk about the Cassidy architecture for the Fire Hall #2, that's another project we need to get that moving along too. That'd be coming from professional services. Once the city attorney does the legalities, review the contract for the legalities on that, we need to move that forward as well.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to take a 5-minute break. Nobody else asking to speak on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no.
No.
We have to call the roll. Please call the roll, okay?
Brown?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Cunningham?
No.
Frost? Frisbee?
Yes.
Gilly? He's not here. Trilly?
Yes.
Skidmore?
Yes.
Sprouse?
Yes.
Stamper? Waters? Woodcock? Clary?
No. It passes 8-4, so we'll take a 5-minute break.
Thank you.
We'll call this back to order. I have no contract in my office. I can't find any evidence that I signed one. Excuse me, Chairman Campbell, you've got the floor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I have a copy of the Manish contract right here in front of me, and it's just waiting for your signature. I'll pass that down to you, sir, if you'd like to sign that today or tomorrow when earliest convenience. That'd be great, so we can get this moving right along, because we've waited long enough. And I would like to point out one other thing regarding that particular contract and the red light that's being proposed. Pastor Bruce from First Baptist Church did send out an email here regarding that red light. Bruce Cheshire. He said that would not be fair to the projects that are already underway and to which the city has made a commitment. We have a line item in our professional services budget for $420,000 for this particular study in last year's budget. It actually is a line item, Saundersville Road Study. So we're waiting, we're at the end of this budget year, we should move into the next budget year, and there's still no study. So every time you wait, we're just putting off Saundersville Road being taken care of another year. That's what I always say, because there's certain times to build roads and other times you just stop. And time all that's approved again, you're going to be in the winter, you're going to wait till the spring, summer, and fall, and after that you're going to wait till the winter and move it right along. So I would like to see us get this moving if at all possible.
Chairman Campbell, if I could ask a question to Chip to clarify? I think that 425 is for the LIC connector, is for the engineering work.
Would you like to answer that, Chip?
Yeah.
If you haven't, I'm sorry, or...
Yeah.
The number, I think it's in the budget, it says itself under professional services.
It does.
It breaks out several things, and that 425 was for the professional services for the design of Saundersville Road.
Yes.
The LIC was 400,000, and what we've done with the Saundersville Road, because of as the city goes through its calendar year, other things come up, and so we've kind of scoped back the Saundersville Road Benesh design plans is to get us through the right-of-way phase at this point. So that will probably take 2 years, because we have to find out what properties we need to get those appraised, then get it in the budget to purchase them. And so we were holding off on the final design part till we knew what properties we were going to get.
I appreciate that. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you. Planning Commission, Alderman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. The Planning Commission met on April 3rd, 2018. These are the preliminary and final development plans that have been approved. Glenbrook North Village, the amendment has been a recommended approval. Streets of Indian Lake Signage Tower Site Plan, approved. Magnetic Hold Site Plan, approved. The TOA Indian Lake Clinic Site Plan was approved. Durham Farms Phase 4 preliminary plat was approved. Staff reviewed projects that are also approved for the public's knowledge: the Arby's Canopy Addition, the Hendersonville Medical Center Site Plan, the Nashville Tempered Glass North Addition, the final plat, Safari's Enclosed Patio, the site plan, and the Walmart exterior renovation. The next Planning Commission meeting, it's always the first Tuesday of the month, so if you would like to come, please do. That is the end of my report, but I would like to make a motion. I know it's a little bit not in order, but to add Alderman Frisbee to the Finance Committee.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of adding Alderman Frisbee to the Finance Committee, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Alderman Petrelli, you still have the floor? Thank you. Alderman Woodcock, Hendersonville Horizons.
Thank you, Mayor. It's already been mentioned, but the Hendersonville Horizons Committee is approaching each standing committee to get their approval. Tonight, we went before General Committee and also Public Safety. Both committees, especially General Committee, voted to recommend the recommendations of the committee, and the future committees will be scheduled as soon as possible. Thank you.
Alderman Woodcock, thank you. Next, we have under ordinances and resolutions, second reading of ordinance 2018-13. This is an ordinance amending the budget ordinance 2017-23 by appropriating general funds in the amount of $129,188.04 to the fire department due to unexpected retirements. Alderman Brown.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to amend this ordinance. I'd like to amend it from the figure $129,188.04 to the figure of $181,863.00. That is due to another fireman that has served us well in this city and has decided that he is going to retire and relax. So that will take care of his retirement funding.
We've got a motion to amend. Second. And a second.
Can we retire?
All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. We're back on the main motion as amended. All those in favor of accepting second reading of ordinance 2018-13 as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have second reading of ordinance 2018-14. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 4, Chapter 2, Section 4-210. Alderman Strauss. We have a motion and a second. Alderman Strauss.
I think that I have an amendment here that was placed in my folder tonight, a rewrite recommended by the Personnel Board. I'd like to ask the Personnel Director just to make sure that the spirit of this thing's true. I ran through it pretty quickly. Doesn't look like there's much change. I saw that there's some changing of the language from eligibility list to, let me go back to my notes. Reemployment list. Is there a significant change to this, or is it just really rewording for clarification?
It's just rewording for clarification.
Okay, Mayor, I'd like to offer, does everyone have a copy of this?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to offer as an amendment, change what's before you to the ordinance 2018-14, what's labeled rewrite for clarification recommended by the Personnel Board.
I second that motion.
Amendment is second. All those in favor of accepting the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we are back on the main motion as amended. All those in favor of second reading of ordinance 2018-4 as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have first reading of ordinance 2018-15. This is an ordinance amending our budget ordinance 2017-23 by appropriating general funds in the amount of $80,000 to purchase automatic license plate recognition cameras. Alderman Brown.
So moved.
The motion and a second. Alderman Brown.
I would like to amend this. Chief Miller, you can come up. I want to ask you something anyway. I want to amend this to $90,000 instead of $80,000. $80,000 was for the cameras. The chief, after doing some investigation, found out the pole that was there will not work with the cameras sufficiently, so we're going to have to spend another $10,000 to make our cameras work. And what I would tell you before I ask the chief to talk about cameras is we had, and I hate to talk about crimes that aren't solved, but we had a bank robbery. A guy robbed a bank, or a gal robbed a bank here about a month and a half ago in our city. If we'd had these cameras sitting at the end of our city when he left, or she left, whoever left in that car, odds are we would have had a license plate and that person would have been in jail. So that's the reason it's before you tonight and not waiting any longer to get this done. Chief, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, it's, I think these license plate recognition cameras are critical. Especially in today's world, because we're getting so many people coming in from outside of Hendersonville committing crimes, and generally they leave in the direction of where we want to put the camera up. So that could have reduced the time spent on a lot of investigations that we've had since last May, had we have had a camera up in that area.
Thank you, Chief.
Alderman Cunningham. Hold on, Chief Miller. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. I know, are those the same kind of cameras that we have now on Indian Lake?
Yes.
Now, where are these additional ones going to go, Chief?
They will be down on the west end of town.
By Center Point?
Pretty close to that, yeah, by the bypass, so we can tell whether they go straight or get on to the bypass.
Okay. Because if they get on the bypass by the Waffle House, will we still be able to catch them? Okay, good. Thank you.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. Alderman Stamper.
Chief,
All right.
Just a question about, is there an anticipation of a need for more of these in the years to come?
Oh, absolutely. But, you know, we're taking baby steps, so.
Okay, so, all right.
Okay.
Alderman Stamper, thank you.
Anybody else? Nobody?
You got nobody else waiting for you. All those in favor of accepting first reading ordinance 2018-15 as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Next, we have first reading ordinance 2018-16. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 15, Chapter 1, regarding miscellaneous offenses. I so move. Second. A motion is second. All those in favor of accepting first reading ordinance 2018-16, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have Resolution 2018-17, a resolution amending the job classification list and pay table. Alderman Skidmore.
So moved, please.
A motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor of accepting Resolution 2018-17, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. I'm sorry. Did I skip something? I'm sorry.
It's all right. We're going to
So-
talk about it.
Alderman Skidmore, will you rescind your...
I sure will, so we can get you back right on schedule.
This is first reading of ordinance 2018-17, an ordinance appropriating funds for an energy audit and feasibility for streetlights along US 31E Gallatin Road. I so move. A motion and a second. Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, thank you, sir. I would ask for support on this ordinance tonight, but in doing so, if it could all possibly be referred back, or actually not back, but to Public Works. The ordinance had gone to Finance, but it is a Public Works issue, and out of an abundance of precaution for all the aldermen to kind of take a look at this, and we'll still be able to address it if it's necessary on second reading. So I would like, after passage or approval of this on first reading, to refer it back to Public Works.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Alderman Brown.
Nope, nothing, thank you.
No, okay. Alderman Strauss.
How did you come to a $25,000 estimate on this, on the study?
Help me out, John. Do you remember? That was the number that went to the Finance Committee, and when they met with the Finance Committee, and Matt, feel free to fill in here. The Finance Committee, we actually didn't have an ordinance at that time.
Who's they? I'm sorry.
The company from Hendersonville, I can't remember the name of them, to be honest with you, because it's not specific to a company. So when we took it to the Finance Committee, it's really just for discussion. The Finance Committee recommended that I go ahead and put together an ordinance and bring it here.
Okay.
So it's not specific to a company.
Maybe we can save, Public Works Committee has so much on their plate, and I appreciate the chairman wanting to take it to their committee, but they have packed agenda. Maybe we can clear this up pretty quickly and save them some time and save the city some money in the meantime. The city of Hendersonville pays a flat fee to NES for the electricity used for each of the street lamps. And that fee is based upon the wattage, the power of each of the lamps. And that's a flat fee. It doesn't matter if it's on 3 hours a day or if it's on 18 hours a day. We pay that. We know how many poles that we have. There's a map that NES has provided to the city that shows where each pole is, and we're looking only in Gallatin Road, so it's a relatively limited number of lamps. We know that that document lists what the power of each of those street lights are, so we know what the cost is. If we can identify what the cost would be to replace those bulbs, the fixtures with the lower cost fixtures, which is a number NES would provide us for free. They would tell us how much it would cost to install the new lamps, and then they would turn around and also tell us what the new fee would be. You know, so if we're paying $10 a month per light and all of a sudden we're paying $8 a month per light, really that's just a couple of calls or emails to NES, and then once they provide the information, a couple of, simple algebra to come up with what the ROI would be on that. Staff can do that. I've confirmed with this, staff could do this. The longest time it would take is for them just to give NES a couple of weeks to tell us what the lower rate would be, what the rate would be for NES to install the new fixtures, and we could do that for no cost whatsoever. And so, I mean, I know that we're very happy and eager to go with feasibility studies, but I think why don't we just go ahead and take that $25,000 and spend it somewhere else and let our staff do the job.
Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, thank you. I would just respond to my distinguished colleague in Ward 2 that we appreciate his infinite wisdom on dealing with Public Works, and we always welcome him to our committee. But the process really is within our committee system is that when there's a Public Works issue, as well as in your committee, they go through the channels of the committee system. Everything you have said this evening is absolutely true. In fact, we know in our committee that very same thing. What we were just trying to do was merely save a little heartache and bellyache out of and I mean no disrespect in this, out of the mayor's office and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, that if it just went through the process, we could come back and let you know what we've come up with. But you are right that our plate is full and has been for several years, and we look forward to these challenges because we enjoy them, actually, or we wouldn't be in Public Works. But if it is deferred tonight, or if it is passed tonight, we would still, again, as Chairman of Public Works, ask for deferral to go through the procedure, the proper procedure would be, and give you a report. And this will probably be on it would be on our next agenda in 2 weeks. So that's what I would ask the board, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Cunningham.
I appreciate both my previous two speakers. Agree with both of them, surprisingly. My concern is the bandwidth of our staff, and I think it would be appropriate for Public Works to review it further. Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate that. Alderman Stamper.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we took $25,000 out. That's been talked about a lot for FEMA applications and to give our staff the resources they need. So I'm not convinced this is something we want to additionally burden our Public Works staff with necessarily. With speaking of full plates, our Public Works Committee has full plate. Public Works Department has more than a full plate. So I'm not really opposed to shopping this out for $25,000. But from the comments I'm hearing, and due to that this is not necessarily a time-sensitive thing, I'm willing to make a motion that we move this to the Public Works Committee, and then, after it goes through that committee, it comes back to this board. So that's a motion to refer it to the Public Works Committee.
We have a motion to send it to the Public Works Committee and then come back, and come back here, obviously. A motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Alderman Campbell.
Yes. I was in researching that. I did contact Public Works, talked to an engineer regarding our NES bill that we receive on a monthly basis, and I believe we get 52 bills from NES for all the electricity we use for various functions here in the city. And speaking of the lights, I think the total kilowatt hours for street lights is 176,158 hours a month, and I believe the one bill for Main Street is $22,000 a month in usage. And we have a mix of 100 watt, 150 watt, 175 watt, 250 watt, and 400 watt bulbs down through there. And I mean, and NES also provided a list of every one of those on a chart that you can look at and see where the various lights are at. So as my colleague here in Ward 2 said, we could look at that and do a little study ourselves and figure out, based on the light fixture. I mean, they have the Cobra, shoebox, and all different types of and ornamental, even the ornamental lights we have down Main Street there. They can tell you exactly how much it's going to cost to retrofit that for an LED. So with a little look, with just a little work here from our side, we can find this out. So, but I'm willing to go along with the board, whatever they decide to do. So thank you.
Alderman Campbell, thank you. Alderman Strauss.
Thank you. Yes, I very appreciate Public Works Committee and the work that they do. And to the point, just want to say, if this had been something that had gone to Public Works at the very beginning, because it was a public work issue, I'm pretty sure that the committee would have heard it. I appreciate your respect to my wisdom. It's very limited. But what I am smart enough to know is to call the Public Works Director and the staff and to talk to him. And I think that if this had gone to Public Works to begin with, y'all would have been told the same thing the Public Works Director told me, which is, we can do this very quickly, and we don't have to spend $25,000. We're happy to do it. And within minutes, they were able to provide me the documentation that they had to resolve this. If they can't do it, I can do it. A high school intern could do it. It's just a simple send an email, get the numbers, and work out the math. But I think it is appropriate to send it to Public Works. It should have gone there to begin with, so we could let our staff actually say how much it should cost to do this, as opposed to the person who'd like to charge us what that fee would be. I don't usually let the vendors tell us how much we're going to have to pay them. Thank you.
We've got a motion and a second to commit this to our Public Works Committee. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have Resolution 2018-17. This is a resolution amending the job classification list and pay table. Alderman Skidmore.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting Resolution 2018-17, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. No. That passes 12 to 1. Next, we have Resolution 2018-20. This is a resolution to approve a final development plan for Durham Farms Phase 4. Alderman Petrelli.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Who's the second? Thank you, Alderman Stanford. All those in favor of accepting Resolution 2018-20, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have Resolution 2018-23. This is a resolution of the governing body of the City of Hendersonville, Tennessee, authorizing the issuance, sale, and payment of land purchase capital outlay notes not to exceed $2.9 million. Alderman Brown.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Alderman Brown.
Appreciate you, Mayor. Appreciate Public Works Department, the other people on that end of the board, this end of the board. Everybody's appreciative tonight. So, just want to say this has been a long haul about this Beatty Farm and the purchase of this parkland. We're down to the point that we're getting ready to appropriate $2.9 million. What I would like to say is I think as a president of our city, some would think that's a bad precedent. I think it's a good one that this board has looked at what green space is valued to us. So anyway, that's where we're at, and I'm ready to vote.
Alderman Brown, thank you. All those in favor of accepting Resolution 2018-23, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. I think that was Alderman Woodcock and Alderman Frost. Anybody else voting no? That passes 11 to 2. Next, we have item I, which is Resolution 2018-28. This is a resolution accepting dedication of completed streets in Saundersville Station Phase 7. Alderman Skidmore. A motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting Resolution 2018-28, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have Resolution 2018-26. Alderman Brown?
So moved.
A motion. We have a motion?
I do have a motion. So moved.
I need a second. We have a motion and a second. Alderman Brown, I believe this was passed out. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Passed out a minute ago. This is the SAFER grants. Alderman Brown, go ahead.
Chief Bush, please.
Chief Bush.
He's back there. This is I'll explain this and then the chief can weigh in on it too. This is allowing the fire department to apply for a SAFER grant through the federal government. What this will do, it will supply us money for a 3-year period at increments that in the 4th year becomes totally the city's. So we do have a match on it, but I think all of us know that we are probably looking here in the next year or so of acquiring a fire hall in Ward 7. Well, maybe we'll do Ward 7 too, I don't know. In Station 7, and this will supply some of those folks that are needed to be on board, trained, and working in that new fire hall, plus help supply some folks that we need now in our fire halls. So, Chief, I'll let you address it.
Chief Bush.
I think it would be silly for me to come before the board and ask during the budget process for extra staffing and not pursue the opportunity for the SAFER grant. I think that's only fair for everybody involved. For us to do our research and our homework to try to benefit the city with optimal price. Everybody knows the city's growing. I mean, that goes without saying. And with that increase is also an increase of volume of calls. Police department goes through it with the severity of crime. We're going through it with just calls for service. We're continually busy. We're continually training as the ISO rating dropped. And again, as I stated, I would literally like to try to push for a 2 over the next couple of years. I think that's attainable by us. This staffing will help that. It's difficult for me to sit behind my desk and talk about safety and preach that to my staff, that that's the #1 thing for the citizens, for us, for everybody involved in the fire department. And we're running short. I've got division chiefs riding third due on trucks. They cannot perform their job to their capabilities. because it either does two things, either drops the truck company down to two, and they cannot be an incident commander over a scenario or an incident, or they've got to call me, and I'll come in, which I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, that's just the way it works, to keep from the overtime. We have an illness and injury on any shift with Kelly days and other issues. It can obviously put us in a pinch in our overtime budget. I think most of you folks in finance and everybody else that does their due diligence with the budget knows that typically, historically, over the years, we go over in our overtime budget. These folks would help negate some of that, hopefully, for us. On the back side of that, we always have vacation carryover because we cannot get folks off throughout the year. And I would like to try to help the city with that as well, so we don't extend that period. At the end of the year, my staff can get off as so needed without having to worry about carrying it over into March. The grant process, like Alderman Brown was saying, it's a 3-year, it's a 75-25 split, the first two. The third year's 35-65. Roughly, I think what I was telling them in public safety, it's $1.1 million, almost $1.2 million for a 3-year deal for the staff for the number that we're asking for.
And if I can add to what the chief said, it's imperative we get this done because the grant's got to go in by April the 27th.
7th, yes, sir. That's the deadline. It's a short window.
The other thing to that too that I think everybody, Paul may not know this yet, but he's watching the meetings. He may too. That it's no guarantee we'll get the full grant. We may get half the grant, which would give us half the folks that we need. So, but this would be the maximum amount. So, I would urge you as the sponsor to vote for it. It will certainly help our fire department protect your homes. Thank you.
Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. Approximately how, well, the 25, if we do get awarded the full grant, hopeful that happens, is it 25% of our portion going to be budgeted in this year's budget? And will we know that during budget time?
I don't know. It may come in the middle. I mean, I can obviously put it in hopes that we get it. We've had conversations with Mr. Minix in finance about how we do that. I'm not going to try to speak for him on how he wants that done. In the past, we have included it. Is that correct? Or we put it to the side as far as if we're going to get it, not get it?
So, in other words, it'll be 25% of 1/3 of the 1.177.
Correct. I can give you those specifics. I have that broke down in my office, and I can send that to all of you tomorrow
for this
if need be.
budget year.
That's
so
correct.
You think you'll know before like June 15-ish?
Oh, no, ma'am. It's really a toss-up. Like I said, the deadline is the 27th of this month. I'm thinking maybe July, August, September even. It can take a while because there's so many people that put in for these grants, and they have to have an opportunity to process all of them and review them.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Scotty.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Alderman Cunningham. Alderman Strauss.
Thank you. There's two things whenever they come up, I just want to make sure we remind everybody in the room. First off is whenever they mention utility district is that the city does not control a utility district. The other one is ISO rating. And because I know someone will see the meeting, it's been mentioned twice already tonight, with the ISO rating has gone down. Just want to make sure everyone understands that's a good thing. That's an accomplishment. The lower the number, the better.
Correct.
We've had some times where that's been mentioned in meetings, and then people will come back and think that services is going down. That's actually accomplishment of your department, and thank you.
Correct. Yes, sir. And he's correct. It went into effect April 1st this year. If you guys remember, I did a little presentation a few months back. And again, I really strive to try to reduce that number over the next couple of years. And staffing will certainly enhance that. Backed up by our overall goal and mission is to be safe and provide the level of protection that everybody here deserves.
Chief Bush, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
All those in favor of Resolution 2018-26, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next we what?
Thank you all.
Oh.
You're welcome.
Next we have reappointment of John Pitcher to serve on the Arts Council. Alderman Brown.
So moved.
A motion is second. All those in favor of reappointing John Pitcher to serve on the Arts Council, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That motion passes unanimously. We have a motion to adjourn. All in
So
favor, please
moved.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously.